We are seeing a rapid growth in entrepreneurship in the past decades, and in the last few years, many women have entered the club. Till now, women have restricted themselves to petty household, business, and cottage industries, but things are definitely changing and changing on a very fast pace. A favorable socio-economic environment is also helping to unbox the hidden entrepreneurial talents among women. At Medicircle, we are conducting the Top Women Entrepreneurs of Healthcare series to showcase such inspirational female role models on their revolutionary journeys. Hello, I'm Smita Kumar, and today our guest for the talk is Dr. Crystal Variava. Dr. Crystal is a reputed doctor from the US based in Mumbai. She's the founder and CEO at True and Trusted Leadership in Healthcare. She had received her doctorate in audiology from the University of Pittsburgh with honorary distinction in clinical, academic, and research science. A great mark in her life was when she was awarded for her excellence in patient-centered care, serving in one of the America's elite federal healthcare. She's an international speaker also and an educator who thrives on creating impact. Hello and welcome to Medicircle, Dr. Crystal.
Thank you very much, Sunita. I'm very proud to be here. I've seen the other female doctors who have been on this panel, and it's quite an honor, so thank you.
We are also equally, flattened by so many women entrepreneurs joining us today on the Top Women Entrepreneurs series, because when definitely we talk to entrepreneurs, especially women, they are opening new domains, especially for the women employment. Things are changing. India is seeing a lot of women entrepreneurs coming and opening their firms here. And definitely the stats has been changing. So the entire impact is really, really great. And thanks to Dr. Crystal for joining us today. To begin with, what is your contribution towards the healthcare industry as an entrepreneur?
Oh, as an entrepreneur, I kind of still laugh when I hear that title. Because you would have asked me about 2 decades ago when I was studying my doctorate. You know, my goal in life was to go into a well-reputed hospital, effectively work with patients, use evidence-based practice, get the good feels of doing good work and call it a day. And I'm very proud to say I did that at a very early age, I would say, in my career. And working clinically, I felt an immense period of stagnation, I would say, which pushed me into more challenging roles. So my journey towards entrepreneurship didn't happen overnight. From a clinical role, I had the opportunity to actually move to India and work with the corporate outfit. And I was working for about 3 years with healthcare providers all across the country, understanding how to imbibe professional services to grow business reputably, ethically, looking at the patient's focus. And over those 3 years, I realized that the stories that these doctors were telling me, they all echoed kind of the same challenges. And these were unfortunately not the challenges I had been hired to do as a corporate director. But it was something that moved me enough that I felt I had to resign to start my own company, which was True and Trusted Leadership in Healthcare. So entrepreneurship, I don't think I ever grew up or went to school thinking I wanted to become one. I have a family of them, but it actually was my calling. It came to me more than me running to it. So I would love to say that, when I resigned from Sonova, I opened my company up overnight. That did not happen. It took me about 3 good years to really make sure that I had my pulse on the market and to make sure that I was going to bring solutions as an entrepreneur that would be sustainable. Sure. So my journey is not as direct maybe as others, but I found my way here and I'm very happy sitting here now.
That's great to know. So, but tell us more about True and Tested. I mean, by and True started, and True and Trusted is exactly what kinds of services is being offered to the patients.
I would love to. So, so it's been 8 years now since I've been living in Mumbai. Okay. So I'm here, I'm settled here. My kids were born here. My family's here. My life is here. And over the years, I've had the privilege, I would say, to sit with doctors and look at their business and look at their professional services and try to make growth for them. And I started noticing these themes where doctors have been very challenged by the patient behavior, because that's changed in the last 10 years quite drastically. You know, patients have direct access to the internet. Yes. They are more informed consumers. And what I was seeing was that doctors were just being very challenged, and they're great at their expertise. They have phenomenal skill. You know, all the credentials are there behind them, but still they're not able to convince the patient into better health. And patients walk in with their guards up, always wary about what is going to be recommended, what the billing is going to look like. Do I really need this treatment? And they doctor shop around. So I could see both sides, because I've also been a patient in India. I've also walked into, you know, a consultation room and I just feel, oh my gosh, you know, maybe I do need to go somewhere else. And at the same time, I sit, you know, side by side with these doctors, and I understand where their heart's coming from, but the skills have not evolved to deal with this new market. So I stepped away and I went back to study, you know, is there evidence? Is there true evidence that can show we can move patients into actually wanting, become motivated for the treatment, and not feel like we have to convince them and massage this idea? So it took me 3 years to really be sure that yes, in fact, there is a way to do it. And it took me about 1.5 years to make the system. So now we empower providers with all these evidence-based skill sets that really we've broken down across the patient journey. And it just gives providers this feeling of confidence and direction and transparency. And it helps them build, I would say, this feeling of trustworthiness, which is really required to get patients on board with anything. And we do it through an evidence-based approach. So that's what true and trusted leadership in healthcare is really all about.
Great, great. So definitely the patient's trust is somewhere like shaken. There are a lot of apps and things which have come and you have better access. But definitely the doctor also needs to have such kind of an presentation or such kind of an affinity or this thing where he or she can exactly convince the patient, and the patient also feels trusted about the healthcare provider services, and is like not in a worrying condition, like where I've arrived and what would be my consequences and stuff like that. So I think definitely true and trusted in that case is helping patients make more informed decisions as far as their treatments are concerned. So have you ever, I mean, like, how is this business going? Have you tied up with doctors? Like how you onboard hospitals or doctors?
So yeah, so just recently we've onboarded a large oncology hospital. It has multiple sites in Maharashtra. Okay. And so we are working directly with the doctors on building their self-awareness, giving them all these evidence-based tools to use. They're really all communication frameworks. And we look at the psychology of the patient to understand that when a patient arrives in the appointment, what is it that we actually can say or do to alleviate the anxiety, the fear? Because when patients are in that state, they're not ready to commit to a treatment. Or you get the dadi that says, TK, my Hindi is very broken, I apologize. TK, मैं घर जाऊंगी और मेरे son के साथ मैं बात करती हूँ और मैं next हफ्ते में आऊंगी. And she never comes back. You know, we know that. And my Hindi is very bad, I'm sorry. But we really are combating those issues where when the patient is ready to see you, we are more effective and we're productive, and we're really just giving skill sets to these providers that are more for the new age consumer, which is the patient.
Definitely. So like as entrepreneurship has its own struggles, and being a woman entrepreneur adds to it. So what were the bigger challenges, and what were the advantages also of being a woman entrepreneur?
I'm going to start with the advantages. I think 2 come to my mind. The first is what I have seen is women have this art of diplomacy, you know, and I think it might be a societal thing where children at a very young age, girls, they're sort of, they're venerated for being courteous and kind and generous. And I think over time that manifests into a woman's ability to be able to ameliorate even the most heated discussions, you know, and I think we've all seen them in boardrooms. I think we see them in cabins after, you know, office hours. And I think the art of communicating is somewhere inculcated that way, where women tend to be a little bit more diplomatic. And this is just my opinion. I've seen that. I've seen that in my own experience, at least. And another advantage I would say that females could have over men is that they're more patient. And don't get me wrong, you know, men and women, they have equal roles in society. I think the expectations, however, of women are a little bit different than men, even though they have the same roles, where we might be just expected to play more of them in terms of our time and effort and engagement. And I think because of that, women are used to taking these lateral steps in life. You know, it's not just about climbing that corporate ladder and, you know, from getting a job to increasing salary to increasing the title, then, you know, getting approached by another larger, more competitive firm. I think men see that as more vertical, and women are more flexible in that they take those lateral steps, and they might not want them or require them, but it might come because they've gotten married and they've moved. So naturally you take a lateral step, or you have kids. Naturally, again, you might take a lateral step. But it's that period of just sitting on the sideline for just a little bit where you get this clarity and focus. And, you know, I'm talking from my own experience. I've taken lateral steps, many in life, but that lateral period made me jump maybe 3 or 4 rungs, because I was planning for the next 15 to, you know, let's say 5 to 15 years rather than 3 to 5 years. So I think women's patience is, it's a great advantage to have. And I think society kind of builds it within us.
Yes.
Yeah. In terms of disadvantages, were you saying the advantages of, can you repeat the question?
These were some of advantages. So what would be what challenges you might have faced being a woman entrepreneur?
Okay. Ooh. I'm going to be honest, and this is my own experience. I grew up with parents who never made me feel limited in terms of resources. We might not have had everything, but they never let me feel it. And they always told me, sky's the limit. Educate yourself, everything else will come. I have a supportive husband, and I cannot speak, I'm blessed. I have a very supportive husband who's never made me feel like because I'm a woman, I can't take that position or I can't travel. And then I've got these in-laws, and they are my champions. They're my biggest cheerleaders. And as a woman, I don't think I have personally ever felt challenged by being an entrepreneur. But when I had been challenged, I would say it was when I became a mother. And I'm not equating the two. Not all women need to become mothers. They don't want to, they don't have to. I'm a woman, I chose to become a mother. But what I did not anticipate was the mom guilt that comes around that. You know, your company is your baby. Blood, sweat, tears, you've nurtured it. You take care of it, you protect it. And then you have a baby and you want to do the same thing for your children, if not more.
Yes.
And early on, I think the biggest struggle I had was this feeling of mother's guilt, not being the first face they see when they wake up, not putting them to bed every night at 8 o'clock. And that's just something I think that will get easier as they get older, but I've got 2 little boys, and it has gotten easier, no doubt.
Okay.
I think that's like my biggest struggle, I would say, is just finding that balance, which I really don't believe exists.
And who has been the biggest motivation behind your journey?
Oh, that's a simple one. It's the providers. I remember my journey as a clinician, and there was moments of disenchantment when you enter a large private hospital and you think, oh my gosh, there's so much business around healthcare that I never even considered. And there's moments of this disenchantment that might happen. Patients challenge you. You feel like you're not capable, or that the skill sets that you learned in school weren't enough, and you struggle your way, you know, to get to a place of ease in your appointments. And then that period of stagnation comes in where you've been there, you've done that, you're comfortable, and you feel, well, you feel from within there's something more. And when I work with healthcare providers and I hear their stories, it reminds me of myself. And, I think, wow, well, great. I've taken 3 years to bring solutions for your well-being, because at True and Trusted, we really believe that excellence in patient care, it starts with excellence in provider care. So when providers come to me and they tell me they're transformed, they're re-engaged, they're enjoying their consultations, they're not feeling this constant struggle day in and day out to convince patients, they're developing these long-lasting, not loyalty, but patient relationships. That's the win for me, because I've been there and done that. And I don't feel any provider really should be going through that. They've sacrificed and worked too hard. So yeah, it's waking up and doing that.
That's really great talking to you, Dr. Crystal. I think it was one of my interviews that was straight from heart. There are very few entrepreneurs who actually speak their heart, and there are a lot of things which they don't want to share, but it was really great talking to you. I think at True and Tested, you are definitely helping out these healthcare providers, doctors especially, and take out the guesswork out of their building, their professional, building their professional credibilities. And as you're using an evidence-based practical approach, you also help to improvise on their client relationships and treatment conversion rates. That's something which is India still waking up to, because there is a new system which is coming. We definitely bring that trust back with your healthcare provider, so that the treatment and the processes are much more smoother. So thank you once again, Dr. Crystal, for joining us today at Medicircle, and we wish you all the best for your True and Tested things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Smita. Thank you.